Okay, so what we're going to be focused on today in masterclass is helping you guys get the concept of workflows. And I've been talking a lot about Sally. We've been doing a little Sally gossip lately, and let's go into it. So let's say that Sally is calling my office right now because she wants to schedule an appointment for her 3-year-old. She's probably driving. She probably is writing on a Dunkin' Donuts napkin with her lipstick. Like, that's how overwhelmed this woman is, right? And she wants to call and get the thing done so that she can do the next 52 things on her to-do list for the day. And she wants to remember to call because there are so many other things that she has to remember to do. She doesn't want to hear you answer the phone and tell her about what a great day it is at your practice. She wants to book the appointment so that she can do the other 52 things. So let's make it as efficient for Sally as possible. Sally calls my office. There's no phone that's answered because we don't have a phone. She goes right into my voicemail message funnel, which lives in my practice suite. She hears, hey, if you're looking to book a new appointment as a new practice member, do this. If you're a current practice member, do this. If you are anybody else or need an admin thing, do this. We're directing her with the funnel. And then in a minute, she gets a text. And the text says, hey, Sally, it actually probably won't say her name if she's not already a contact in my suite, but it'll say, hey, it looks like I just missed a call. This is Dr. Jodi. Is everything okay? How can I help? That's called a missed call text back. I missed the call. She gets a text back. I can set that to go out in an hour. I can set it to go out while she's calling immediately. I set it to go out in a couple minutes. And then this is where it gets really cool, you guys. So let's say that Sally gets that text and she doesn't see it, or she decides not to respond to it for whatever reason. She's still busy. Hi, Hannah. So Sally's gonna, Hannah, we're talking about Sally. We're doing Sally gossip. And she got the text that we missed her call. Is everything okay? Let's say she doesn't respond. Then that's an if, and that will make sense in a minute. If she doesn't respond, then in 5 minutes from now, she's going to get what's called a voicemail drop. The voicemail drop is my voice on a recording that says, hey, it's Dr. Jodi. I hope everything's okay. It looks like I missed a call from you. Go ahead and text me back at this number, and I'll try you again tomorrow if I don't hear back from you. That's the voicemail drop. If at any point in the process, Sally texts me or calls me or does anything that has to do with touching my suite, the whole thing will stop. It will not continue to go on. Sometimes, fair warning, Sally might have 3 contacts in your suite. It might be SALLIE, SALLY, SALLEY, and she might have 2 different phone numbers. That's where automation gets screwed up. So one of the things that we do on our team, this is where it's money, you guys, to have someone like me showing you what to do with something like the practice suite. Once a week or twice a week, one of our VAs who we pay like, $8 to $10 an hour, one of their jobs is to go through and look for duplicates in the suite. And it takes her maybe 10 minutes to do this, and it saves from automation hiccups. There's nothing worse than automation hiccups. If you picture like a pregnant elephant, big elephant, full of water in the trunk, really pregnant, and the baby's about to drop, and a hiccup happens. Can you imagine how earth-shattering that hiccup can be? That's how earth-shattering a hiccup in your practice suite can be. You don't want to have hiccups. You want to avoid them at all costs. And one of the ways to avoid them is to be proactive and have somebody scanning your contacts on a weekly basis. And again, it's not more than 20 minutes. We have 7,000 contacts in my suite, and it takes her 20 minutes. So that's what we call a workflow, right? That's just one of many examples of what we can do with a workflow. That's called the missed call workflow. I actually, as of late, I dodge the missed call text back. I don't check the box. I actually use a workflow instead. So and I'm going to show you all of this in a couple minutes. My workflow is if a caller is either sent a voicemail or doesn't get a voicemail, or if any condition happens with a caller, then set them on this workflow. That's the trigger. The trigger is they call. Any questions so far? Okay, so we all understand what a workflow does. It can do anything from anywhere. So I'm going to say it again, I love the analogy of synapses. The sense of smell is the strongest sense because it's got the shortest synapses from the nose to the brain. That's why we smell something from when we were 2 and we remember it immediately, because it's right next to our brain. The less synapses in the practice suite to the original force, to where you want it to go, the original information to where you want it to go, the clearer it's going to be, the stronger of a sense it's going to have. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So I made some things for you this morning at 5 o'clock in the morning because I love you guys. So I want to find what I made for you first, and then I want to share my screen. Hold on one sec. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to go into this. We're going to do a deep dive in this in the boot camp that we're starting next week. Week 3, we're doing workflows for new leads, new practice members, and I think it was visit 1 and visit 2. So I just want to put these ideas in your brain. If you do not have a practice suite, totally cool. Then use the automations that you have at your fingertips. So the idea of, I'm going to share a couple of concepts with you. All of you have this in the chat of this Zoom, or wherever you're watching this document should be with it. And it's nice and pretty. It's pen to paper inspired. So it gives you a little bit of information about what workflows and automations are all about. And then go ahead and just jot down for a couple of minutes before you start on this lesson. What are the goals that you have with automation? Do you want to save time? Do you want to save energy? Do you want to save money? Do you want your Barb at the front desk to not have to answer the phone anymore? Like, what best case scenario is this changing for you? What is this serving? What is this feeding in your world? Recently, we came out with what's now known as the A-frame system of staffless practice. And I'm going to give you a snapshot of the concept so that you know where workflows fit in, okay? The A-frame is, if you have any background in marketing, they talk about lead generation and then converting the lead into a buyer and then nurturing the lead for years to come. This is the Jodi twist on all of that. So the first step is attract them into your hive, attract your perfect practice member into your world. And then you're going to acquire them. There's a difference between attracting them and acquiring them. Acquiring them is getting them to say yes to care. Saying, I want what you have and I'm willing to pay you in time/energy for it. Then once they've been acquired, you're going to be aligning them with your vision and your ideals and your philosophies of health and wellness, of the journey that you're setting them on. And then there's space for adaptation. There's space to integrate, to breathe. Now that your practice is scaling, this is when you take a deep breath, right? So the concept of the A-frame in the staffless practice world is week 1, we talk about attract. Week 2, we talk about acquire. Week 3, align, and week 4, attract. Week 4, adapt. This week, the week that we're recording this video, we're talking about attraction. So the examples we're going to use today are in light of attracting your perfect practice member. And I gave you some information on the A-frame system here. So the first thing I want you to do, part of attracting your perfect practice member, is setting your intention. Usually I'll do this during my adapt week, my week 4. Like, that's the week that for me personally, I take off. I don't schedule any coaching client. I have about 20 personal, private, close coaching clients right now. I don't see any of them in my adaptation week. That's the week I integrate. That's the week that I say, okay, universe, I'm on break. Give me some new ideas, right? So this is the kind of thing that you want to do during your adaptation time. What are your intentions with your workflows? What is the goal with the stage of the workflow? Is it for when it comes to a lead, when it comes to a practice member, and when it comes to people who have left your practice? Those are the three people we're going to talk about. So if we're talking about the leads, meaning these are the people who they might not know that you exist. They might have heard your name around the different groups in town. They may have walked by your office. They may have seen your flyer. You're probably in their radar, but you might not be. That's a lead. Okay. They're a lead because they fit into your vision of who you want to serve. They're a lead. They haven't said yes to care yet. They're kind of flying around your hemisphere, right? Picture bees to honey. So when it comes to making a plan for your leads, do you want to attract them, acquire them, align them, or adapt them? Probably all of the above, right? When it comes to making a plan for your new practice members, you've already attracted them. So we're more focused on acquire, align, and adapt, right? When it comes to making a plan for inactive practice members, we're talking about probably some aligning them, because if they left your practice, they're probably not aligning to your vision. If your service is wellness care is always relevant, right? There's never a time that you don't need a great massage or a great adjustment or a great physical therapy session. It's always relevant, right? So if we're talking about inactive practice members, we're probably talking about align and adaptation. So that's the plan. What is the plan that you want to have in place for leads, for practice members, and for inactive practice members? Let's go into leads. So let's say with my leads, I want them to hear about me probably from somebody that I've done work with before. So I want them to be referred. That's ideal, right? And then I want them to go to my website. Like that's the first place I want them to land in my hemisphere or in my hive. And I want them to see me. I want them to see that I'm somebody who's relatable and who they can trust, right? Then I want them to book an appointment with me. Then I want them to pay before they come in. Then I want them, and I'm just going down my funnel right now. Then I want them to know not to come to see me if they just got something put in or put on their body. If you know, right? And then I want them to know that we're going to spend about a half hour together. I'm going to give them a care plan. I'm going to give them an adjustment if they are a candidate for my care. And I'm going to do an exam on them to the best of my ability. I want them to know that before they come in. That's the plan for my leads. Okay. Or I'm sorry, for my new practice members. For my leads, it's more like I want them to join my Facebook group. I want them to check out my website. Like I want it to be ready to receive them. Maybe I want them to call the practice and hear go through the funnel of the missed call text back. With my inactive practice members, I want them to know that I'm attraction rather than promotion, right? Like that I'm here to serve them and I don't judge them for leaving my practice. I want them to stay active in my Facebook group so that I can continue to educate them. I want them to open my newsletters. So I have to make plans for all of this nurturing. Do you get it? And we make the plans for the nurturing through the workflows that we're going to create. And then I love this part. Like, let's say that I make the plan for the inactive practice member. There's a joke. How do you make God laugh? Tell your plans, right? So I'll make a plan for my inactive practice member and it will go south. I want to have a backup plan just in case. So if I do a missed call text back and the text doesn't go through, my backup plan is going to be to have an email sent out 10 minutes later. Because chances are, if I miss them on text, I can probably catch them on email or in a voicemail drop or something like that. Okay, so then I have here a spreadsheet for you because y'all know how I love a spreadsheet, right? And I'm giving this to you This is like, and then some. This is Jodi. Jodi very clearly woke up a little bit too early and drank a little too much coffee. So the idea is you always want to have a trigger for where that's where the automation starts. And I'll get into that in a minute. So the trigger might be that a lead opted into your hive, or you have a new practice member who asked about care, or somebody decided to leave care, or someone was referred by another practice member, or something else, right? So that's your trigger. That's what's going to start the whole workflow on doing its thing. When do you want this to happen? Immediately would be the example. What's the first action? A text. What are the details of the text? How long do you want to wait until the next action? What is the next action? What are the details? And when does it happen? I'm sorry, how long do you want to wait until the next action? What is the next action? And on and on and on. This is just another way for you to plan your workflow. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, cool. I also, yeah, go ahead.
Everything that you're explaining, is that explained in the document?
Yeah, and
Like
we're
you
going to show
explain
you
out.
an example of it. Yep. And I'm going to show you an example. It's also in the Learning Center if you have a practice suite. I go through step by step with you. So these are the options that the practice suite gives you when you're creating a workflow, and it breaks them down. It kind of defines them for you. When I first started creating workflows in my practice suite, I was like, I don't know what half of these things mean. I don't know how they're relevant. You guys, I learned the hard way. So what I'm trying to do is to put the definitions in front of you that are relevant to running a practice for wellness. Okay, so here's your list. This is the kind of thing that you want to print out, and you'll refer to it over and over again. So this is the document. The document is in the chat of this Zoom. If you're in the Zoom with me, if you're watching the recording, it's wherever the recording is. I'm going to pivot now to go. Did anybody else have questions?
I have a question, Jodi.
Hi, David.
So that Excel planner, so is that kind of your brainstorming? You put it in the planner in the Excel spreadsheet, and then you'll go to the automation practice suite and then kind of like implement all of those different things, but that's kind of the flow.
Yeah, it's the flow. And wait, let me go to it again. To be honest with you, David, let me move a door. Hold on one second. So my brainstorm happens. I don't know if I can do this without screwing it up. You see this big ass whiteboard?
Yeah.
That's where my brainstorm happens. So I have all of the markers. I go crazy with it. So I need like blank space for my brain to be able to process. The spreadsheet isn't really my processing grounds. The whiteboard is my processing grounds. And then I'll take those concepts. I need arts and crafts, and then I can take it to this. The other thing I have is I collect these books. Like, I love beautiful notebooks with really happy paper. Right. I even made one for you guys. It's called the Joy-Filled Practice Planner, actually it's the playbook, and it has all of these words, all of these pages in the back for just play. So I love a blank sheet of paper to plan it out. Like, David, it sounds something like this. If I was my new practice member, what would I want first?
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably want to hear your voice. I'd want to hear you say, hey, it's Dr. Dave. I saw you just called and I missed you. I'm so excited to connect with you. If you're a new practice member, go on over to our website. You'll find information there. Just look for the blue button. If you're a current practice member, I'll see you on the table soon. Shoot me back a text.
Mm-hmm.
So I would want to hear that because it would make me feel like you're my brother, and I'd feel safe to get adjusted by you.
Mm-hmm.
So for other people, though, they may be a little bit more professional than me, and they may say something more like, hello, this is Light Source Chiropractic. It looks like we've missed your call, like, right? And they might be like super like, and they might say, please proceed to sending us an SMS text or a voicemail to this number, and they might say the number over and over again. It has to be you. It has to be your personality. It has to be your jam. It has to be your song. I always think about Pete the cat. If you're a mom or a dad, if you know, right? Pete the cat knows a lot about that, and he walks around with his blue suede shoes. So what's my expression of my dance in automation? It has to start. It has to start for me in a creative way. And then I can bring it to a spreadsheet, and then I can implement it into my suite. I've tried to do it the other way and I always screw it up.
And so like if you have all these automations going on, these are all kind of like these fingerlings. I guess it's like you can either keep track of it in Practice Suite or in the Excel or and then I guess prioritizing is like when things come up, then you can tweak them and change them.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing, is remembering what is already set in motion. Like today this came up, we had 3 different tags for our sweeties. We had in suite, suite, and active suite. They all meant the same thing. So we forgot, like you forget because there are so many freaking SOPs. So I love the idea of one person being in charge of all of the moving pieces and making sure there aren't duplicates. So that's a great job for a VA. Like if you guys have a new automation you're adding to your suite, have a gatekeeper for the automation so that that person's job is, we already have an automation for that, right? She's the person or he's the person who is in charge of all of the puzzle pieces and making sure there aren't duplicates. And we were talking about this earlier. So that's a great job for a VA. That's an $8 an hour job. $8 an hour. So that's the hardest thing about any of the technology now, is you forget it's like, how many accounts do you forget that you have? And at the end of the month, you're like, whose airways, bells and whistles? Why did I pay them $10? Right? So because in the heat of the moment, we're like, yeah, I'll do a free trial. And then we do the thing and we forget the thing. And we do that with automations too. So have someone watching it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions before I go into creating a workflow? Cool, right, you guys? There is, when technology took over about 20 years ago, half of my friends leaned into it and half of my friends leaned away from it. I thought it was really cool. I remember being like 15 and my dad, we were driving around in a convertible, and he had a cell phone like that was this size, and he was like the coolest cat in La Jolla talking on his cell phone. He's like, one day this will fit in your pocket and it will have a whole thing on it called the internet. And I was like, there's no way, but I totally had shiny object syndrome. And as soon as the boom hit, I leaned in, but half of my friends leaned away. And now what's happening is they're being forced to lean back in to have a business in today's world. And the more you can keep it personal, implementable, the more you can find ways to use paper and creative expression with something that's one-dimensional, the more you'll succeed with it. And that's what we're trying to do with the Practice Suite. Okay, can I go into building a workflow, or do you guys have more questions? I'm going to go in. Okay, here we go. So can someone give me a scenario that they want to see a workflow built for? Does anybody want to play with me? If not, I can just go into my own little happy dance here.
Reactivations.
Tell me more.
So like maybe people that came in and they were, okay, you need this much care, and maybe they kind of were like, oh, I don't have money, or I'm feeling better, and then they kind of drop off of care, and then I'm terrible at texting, and so using this to kind of reconnect with them.
Yep. So okay, so the hardest thing of an automation is to figure out what the trigger is going to be. So in scenario 1, and you tell me which scenario you like better, David. In scenario 1, your practice members are booking directly into your EHR program, and then you're duplicating that appointment in your suite, or you're tagging them in your suite, new patient in progress or new practice member in progress. In scenario 2, they're scheduling right into your suite. Which do you want to play with?
What do you mean they're scheduling into the suite? Like they're like triggered by some automation that.
The calendar link on your website that says click here to book an appointment with me, that link is to the scheduling your suite, not to an EHR program.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So which do you want to play with?
The one where I guess the one that links to the practice suite.
Okay, cool. So they book an appointment in the practice suite. Then what I would do, what my VA would do, I don't do any of this, is they would then go and put that appointment in my EHR program, because they don't touch each other. They're just mirroring each other. So if someone's directly scheduling into my practice suite, I have to put that appointment in Jane. That's what I use. If somebody's directly scheduling in Jane, I have to add them as a new contact in my practice suite. One of the two things needs to happen. I'm going to use Jane, though, or ChiroTouch, or whatever it is that you guys use, right? Or Body Balance. There are all kinds of them. I'm going to use that program to look at, tell me who the list of people are that did not come in past their first visit. And maybe in the past 6 months, this is a reactivation campaign. And maybe I have a list of, so that in Jane, that would be in settings, reports, and you can print a report of the people who, I always do people who are not scheduled, and then I'll scan it. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. And it'll end up giving me a list of names, phone numbers, and email addresses. Okay, let's put a pause there. I'm going to put a placeholder there. Oh, what was my point? I wanted to come back to it. Yeah. Let's say, David, that you're in my hometown and I'm your chiropractor, and I run into you in the supermarket, and I'm like, hey, Dave, it's been so long. I haven't gotten you on the table. Like, what's up? Do you still have a spine, man? Do you still have stress in your life? Come on in, get adjusted, right? And you're like, oh, Dr. J, I promise I'll come see you soon. I'm like, all right, I love you, brother. I love you too, Dr. J. Okay, bye. I pat your kids on the head, and that's the thing. And then the next day you get a text from me and you're like, it says, hi, David, this is Dr. Jodi. It's been so long since I've seen you. I hope you can come in for a visit soon. There's just this disconnect that happens because I just saw you in the supermarket yesterday. I hugged you. I told you I loved you. So it's really important when this list gets created that you scan it. Use your.
What do you mean by scanning? Are you just saying, so you create the list, just, oh, you visually go through and.
Yes, I saw him in the supermarket yesterday. He doesn't need to be included in this list. Delete his name off of it. He already got the point that I want to see him, right? So your assistant or your VA can create the report for you or print the list for you. You have to scan it. Please don't miss that step, because if you miss the step, you're going to drop the personal experience and it's just cheesy. Okay, so you now have a solid list of names from your EHR or Calendly or whatever you guys are using. Some of you aren't doctors. You don't need to respect HIPAA. You might be a coach and you might have people who never scheduled. So you might have a list of people in Calendly who scheduled your strategy session or your exploration call, whatever, discovery call, whatever you call it, but they never scheduled a client one call, or they never got tagged in your suite as a new client. That's the list, wherever you're getting it from. What I would then do is I would take that list, clean it up, make it perfect. It would need to be a CSV, first name, last name, email address, phone number. And I would import it into my suite and I would tag all of those people inactive September 24. Then I would send them a text and the text would say, let me show you. So let's go to, I want to use one of our dummy suites, our Smarty suites. It's not nice to call it a dummy, right? So we're not going to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go into automations. So I'm going to create a workflow, start from scratch. And I'm going to call this workflow sample reactivations. Okay. And then the first thing that you have to do of any workflow is what? Who knows? Set the what?
Goals.
The trigger. You want to say to your suite, hey, sweetie, as soon as this happens, do this. Okay, that's what a workflow is. I'm going to tell you how to get in flow with your work, sweetie. So as soon as this happens, do this. As soon as a contact tag is named, I'm going to select tag added, and I'm going to select the tag here. You know what? I don't like any of those tags. Let me make a new one. Add a new tag. Come on, add a new tag. So I'm going to call it September 24 recalls, add new tag. Okay. As soon as somebody is named this save trigger, I want to wait, and I'll show you why in a minute, David. I want to wait 1 minute, save action. Then I'm going to go back into wait. I'm going to click advanced window because I don't want to be sending people. Let's say my VA imports this list and tags all of these people at 3 o'clock in the morning because she's on the other side of the world, right? I'm going to say from Sunday to Saturday, I don't want this text to go out between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Between 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. Okay, I want to be mindful of time. That's basically what I'm saying. 9, I'm screwing this up. Hold on a second. 9 p.m. and 12. Let's just do that. Okay. Okay, so we put the wait on. We're not going to text people at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I'm going to send them all a text. And I believe in bundles and bonuses, you have our recall program. Is that right, you guys? Let's go into bundles and bonuses. Oh, I'm giving you guys so much. Here, practice recalls. Okay, so all of this is in here. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to text these people. I'm going to send them an SMS. Send SMS. I'm not going to use a template because I want to show you how I do it. I'm going to do first name, contact, first name, and I'm going to say, hey, it's Dr. Jodi. Where are you? This is really how I talk to my practice members, and that's why they love me, because I'm everybody's big sister, right? Where are you? Text back a 1 to get on the schedule this week. A 2, I'm not saying they're my chiropractic patient. I'm not saying they're coming to me for back pain and headaches. I'm not shitting on HIPAA at all. I'm just saying, hey, it's Dr. Jodi. I miss you. Right? It's been a minute. Text back a 1 to get on the schedule this week, a 2 to continue a break from care, or a 3 to be removed from this list. Save action. Okay. That's the text that they get, David. And then do you guys want me to take it a step further, or is that a lot to process? You want me to take a step further? Hannah's like, give it to me. Okay. So I'm gonna, please don't forget to name your workflows. Don't forget to do that. I also love the idea of, if you don't have a VA tracking all of your automation, have a legal pad on your desk and write down automation created, what it is, and just a short thing about what it does, and just keep this by your desk, because you're going to be creating automations all the time and you want something quick to reference. If it's in a computer, you're like, where did I put that file? This is right next to your desk. Okay. So I would create this, I would publish it and make it live. Okay. I'm going to save this. And then I would probably add an email. I would probably add a voicemail drop. I would do all of those things. The voicemail drop would sound like, Hey, it's Dr. Jodi. I sure do miss you. Go ahead and text me now. I just sent you a juicy text. Let me know if you have any questions. That's it. That's what I would say. Okay. And then I'm going to come back to workflows and I'm going to go into step boards. You guys, this is going to hurt your brain if you're not tech savvy and if you're new to the suite. If you do not have a suite, don't watch. You can watch, don't watch, but you can, but don't. Okay, so step boards, if you guys know what, does anybody know what Trello is? Okay, cool. Trello is, let me just see what I have here that I can show you on Trello. I don't know that I have anything like right here and ready to rock and roll. Are you going to be easy for me or are you going to make me work for it? All right, cool. So look, it's so pretty. So Trello is where you can have like all of these ideas and concepts and you can move them around and you can move them around. And it's an organization board. Okay. Trello lives in the practice suite. So watch this. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to add a pipeline. I'm going to create a new pipeline. The pipeline name is going to be recalls. The stage name, the first stage of recalls is going to be added to text 1. The second stage of recalls is going to be responded, said no. And then that means that they sent me a 3. The third stage of recalls is going to be responded. And you guys have all of this in your suite already. I already gave you a step board that's all ready to go. Okay. It's also in the bundles and bonuses under the recalls program. I'm just showing you how I put it together. Responded, said, maybe later. And that's going to be a 2. Okay. And then add stage, no, what other state? Added to text 1, responded, said no, responded, said 2. I think those would be the only stages in this. Okay. I need to delete this. Okay. All right. So that is going to be my pipeline. Now, I want to, what do I want to do? I want to go back to my automations. And I want to go, this is really cool. I'm going to hit the clock here for the most recent automation. And here it is. Okay. And then I'm going to take the workflow that the board that I just created, and I'm going to say opportunity, create or update an opportunity as soon. So let's backtrack. We tag the person inactive or whatever. It was like September inactive 24. We waited a minute. We sent them a text and now we're going to add them to that Trello board. Okay. We're going to select the pipeline recalls. The stage is going to be, we're going to add them to text 1. And the opportunity name, what I do here is I put their name in, contact full name. So that's what I'll see on the front of the card. Okay. And save action. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back to workflows. I'm going to go to contacts. I'm going to choose Sorrel Margaris. These are all fake people. And I'm going to add the tag to this person. September 24 recalls. Okay. Now, what do you expect that I'm going to see when I go into my step board? Can anybody guess? Hannah, what?
Muted, I'm muted. You're gonna see her name. She's gonna pop up.
I'm going to see a pretty little card. Come on. I have to sort her. Where is she? Oh, it's waiting a minute. That's why. We have to be patient. But watch this. We can go into the automation and we can see that she's in the automation. See how it says 1 person's enrolled? I'm going to click here and I can see where in the automation she is. So she's waiting right here. So as soon as we've waited a minute, did I say 1 minute on this? Yep, 1 minute. As soon as I've waited a minute, we're going to text her and she's going to have a card pop up on that step board. And then what I want to remind you of, and we'll come back to this, is that I gave you guys, where is it? No, sorry. It's here. I gave you guys a whole glossary of all of the workflow components. This is the kind of stuff that took me hours to figure out. I'm giving it to you to save you those hours. So it's been about a minute, right? You should see me bake cookies. Is it done yet? Is it done yet? Have an out, have an out, have an out. And I'm married to an engineer who happens to also be a Buddhist. He does a lot of breathing. Okay, she's still waiting, so I'm gonna let her wait. Does anybody else want to try a workflow?
I have a question, Jodi. So you create the workflow, and then I'm confused, like how that list that you created then gets over there. I mean, I understand with the tag, if you go into each contact and create the tag that connects to that workflow.
You don't need to do it for each contact. So basically what I would do is I would take a CSV file, I would go into my contacts, and I would I would import a list here. Import contacts, and I would import them all. And when you do a contact import, you can choose what tag to add that list to.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is you've set the stage for as soon as you do that import, that automation is going to take over. And David, I do this once a quarter for my practice.
You mean the recall thing, or what do you mean?
The recall thing, text a 1 or a 2 or a 3, and I'll end up getting like 30 texts from people saying 1, and that will be my busiest week in practice in months.
Okay. And then so you kind of have to keep track of that. So once you do that, then do you go in and untag them all? Like,
oh yeah. So if you can go back to, why isn't this kicking in? It's going to bother me. It might be because it's a Smarty account and the automations aren't actually going active. I'm not sure why, but there should be a card that sits here. Let me just show you my suite to show you what it looks like. And David, I'll come back to it. You see how there are cards here that can be moved around, right? It's a Trello board essentially. And we have all of these Trello boards in my suite. So this is a really good feature to use to keep yourself organized. And every time somebody says yes, the card will automatically be moved over. So I would go back to,
that's cool.
Where were we? We were in
Recall. Okay, so the recall, let's say, they'll, like, once it triggers that trigger, if I've imported the contacts, and then whatever text messages go out in that automation, then that will move to the different Trello boards automatically as it goes through that step process. So then I don't have to change the tags for each one.
No, you can say this. You can say, so I'm gonna watch this, you guys. Ready? This is one of the choices on that Canva doc. If contact, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to do back to all actions. If events, why isn't it letting me do? I think it's getting screwed up because it's not an actual suite. Come on. So basically I would say if that contact texted me a 2 or a 3 or a 1, or if that contact's tag was changed to inactive status, move them to the 3rd column of the workflow. Or if that contact texted back a 1, move them to the 2nd column of the workflow, or take them off of the workflow altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Does that
Oh.
make sense?
So you have like kind of a logical statement that will, and then in the drop down, it will say, take them off the workflow or whatever.
Yeah, so let me come up with something easy. She's still hanging out in here. I think I might be able to force her. Please select contacts. Oh yeah, check this out, you guys. Move all. So we just, did it work? We moved her. Now we're gonna see her card in Stepboards. There she is. So we can either manually move her over, David, and then say if this contact is moved to the workflow choice said no, she can then get an email that says, bye, see you later. Or if this contact moved to column 3, where she said she'll come later, then send me a reminder via email or Slack or an SMS in 3 months from now. You can also have a template that says, great, I see you sent me back a 2. I'm going to check in with you in 30 days. Does that sound good to you? And then if you move her card, it's however you want it to be set up. Whatever you came up with when you took the whiteboard and figured out what you want to do with your client, with your practice members. And the answer always goes back to, what would you want for your care? In my practice, I'm going to send my team actually does this. They move them over as we hear from each person, and they'll come back to it and look at who's still on the list and maybe later. And we'll probably start with those people.
Mm-hmm. And what are like the first automations you think are the most important to kind of start with? Is it kind of the first equation?
There are only a few. Missed call, text back. Don't miss that. Missed call, text back is the first one. Website chat widget is the second one. Make sure there's something on your website collecting their conversation and set an automation for it. If they fill out the form on the website or the chat widget on the website, then send them this voicemail drop. Hey, it's Dr. David. I see you're hanging out on my website. This is the cool kind of thing that my practice does. We want to make sure we capture your attention while it's with us, right? So chat widget, missed call, text back. And I like things like birthdays. I would have a voicemail recording of me singing to them, things that make the experience of being in my practice more personalized. What else do we use in the practice? True story, like, and I didn't know that this was true. High level became a thing. Like, so the company that offers the practice suite is called Go High Level. They became a thing by a guy who is like struggling to pay his next meal. And he went out to hang out with some friends one night, and they were complaining because they were in the finance world and they had no way to automate saying to people, you owe us money and it's the end of the month and please pay it. So he created a way, he was super tech savvy, to send a reminder to people who owed a payment with a payment link. That was the birth of High Level. So you can do payments that are due, you can do super bills, you can anything that nurtures your practice members. And the rule of thumb, David, is whatever you end up saying over and over and over again during your adjusting hours, after your adjusting hours, before your adjusting hours, those are the things that need to be automated. So for me, it's a tour of the office.
Like, especially with like people that maybe like, oh, I need to check my calendar, or like I'll schedule later, I'll text you. Like that'd be a great person to automate too.
Anywhere where the subluxation happens, anywhere where your wheels are stuck in the sand, like you're just spinning and spinning, anything that slows down you being in flow, it either needs a person or an automation. Those are the two choices. Usually it's an automation, especially if you're in a practice that sees between 50 and 200 people a week. If you're above 200 people a week, it might be a person that's needed. So again, going to the automations, you guys, they're the things that are repeated over and over again. If I have to say where the dirty diapers go one more freaking time, so that's an automation. So my moms, they get the mom tag, they get the email, the welcome email for the moms. Here are some rules around my office. After school snacks are here. Dirty diapers, this is what we do. And they might have a different video tour of the office than my professional athletes do. It depends on where are you like, I can't believe I have to say this again. Happy birthday to you. Like, record it and send it out, you know.
I have a question. You mentioned something about, and I don't know, it might be that I didn't hear it. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you so well, Felicia.
Okay. The appointments. Do people, they have two choices to schedule appointments through the EHR or through
Yeah.
practice?
Yeah, so some people, hi Carrie, I'm glad you're here. Some people don't need an EHR program. They might be like a nutrition coach and they don't need to go into so much detail. So your suite, if you have a practice suite, comes with a calendar that's just as robust as any scheduling software. You can have specific links for specific appointment types. Then people say to me, well, why would I want to use Jane then? And I use Jane because I always say Jane is everything that happens when they're in my office, and the suite is everything that happens when they're not. Right. So I want my patients scheduling. It's one synapse in the same place that I'm taking notes, in the same place that they're paying. I don't want that to be in two different places. It's too many synapses and there's too much room for fault. Right? For me I will screw it up. So the safest way for that to happen is everybody's schedules in Jane, and then I copy that person over to my practice suite. All I'm doing these days, I actually don't do it, my team does, is I'll put them in as a new contact, new patient and scheduling process. That's the tag they get, and that sets their automation. And that automation in my practice, let me go over this. In my practice, a new patient automation looks like this. They get a text, hey, I can't wait to see you. It's Dr. Jodi. They get a voicemail drop. Hey, it's Dr. Jodi. I can't wait to serve you the best care possible in chiropractic, da, 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 da. And then they get an email the day of their visit. So if that's the case, I have to put the appointment in my suite so that I can set the automation the day before this appointment happens. This is just another workflow like I just showed you, but the appointment has to be in my suite for that to happen. If I don't need my automations to be time sensitive, like it doesn't have to happen the day before, you don't need to mess with the schedule in your suite. You guys listen to me play that back 5 times because it took me a month to understand that concept.
I'm still confused about like, so if they're scheduled in practice suite, you're saying like if I want like to send this routine to new patients, that they have to be scheduled in practice suite for that trigger, or
only if it's time sensitive. So if you want to say to your suite, hey suite, send this person an email the day before their appointment, you're going to have to tell the suite when that appointment is. That's using the calendar.
So then then you just manage like Jane schedule and practice suite?
And what I do is instead of adding them as a contact, I just add an appointment for them in my suite. It's the same thing.
Do you have your entire schedule copied in practice suite?
Well, my schedule is copied in, I can show you. My schedule is copied in the practice suite. It's mirrored. And then if there's an extended appointment, like an initial consultation or what we call a special needs appointment, like, you know, a mom who just had her first baby or whatever, then we'll actually take that appointment and put it in my suite so that I can do time sensitive automations. I can say, your appointment is in 20 minutes and these are the things I want you to think of in addition to what Jane is sending out. You don't have to do that though. It's not necessary. It's just like the next level of automation. It does just as much to just, as soon as you add them to your suite, send them an email saying, I can't wait to see you. Jane will take care of you have an appointment in 24 hours, right?
Mhm.
It depends on how you want to do it.
Does the, is there any way to have it like each day automatically copy the schedule? No, you have
Not
to.
yet, not
Okay.
yet. No, and there are so many people trying to make that work. And there are even people selling this program saying it does work and it doesn't. It's brand new software. The experts in high level have only been using it for 4 years. It's brand new and there are no automations that work that seamlessly yet. The synapse hasn't been created, but it will be very soon, I'm sure. I am going to say, you guys, it takes like, let's say you have 10 new practice members a week, which is awesome. Kudos to you. It takes maybe 30 seconds to add an appointment to your suite. So 10 times 30 seconds is 300 seconds, which is like 5-10 minutes. You take the person's name, the appointment time, and you add them to your suite and it's done. And then they go into the automation sequence. These are also the kinds of things that my team can do for you. If this hurts your brain, let us do it for you and then we'll explain what we did. We'll give you the yellow sheet, right? And we'll say, this is what we did. Don't touch it. Don't mess with it.
Mhm.
And again, if you don't have a suite and you're watching this, find a way to cut the corners where the corners can be cut. Don't cut corners that shouldn't be cut. Where did I do this? In our free training, I go into like what should be automated and what shouldn't be automated. When you're establishing trust, and David just hopped off. When you're establishing trust and rapport with a new practice member, there are moments that need to be knee to knee, heart to heart. That's not where automation should live. Like, you can trust me, I'm going to take good care of your baby. That shouldn't be a text. Right? That should be me holding the baby and rubbing elbows with the mama and saying, I promise I'm not going to hurt your baby. Don't ever worry about that. That should not be a text. Is that helpful? Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, any other questions, you guys? All right. So we are going to hop over to onboarding. If you're joining us for onboarding now, we're going over there. And I'm loving you from here, and thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you within the next couple of days, I'm sure.